what's up? This is Jose, and I am in Dallas, Texas, and I wanted to jump on here again and talk about freedom. And this has been something on my mind, especially in the great state of Texas. They're all about freedom. They're all about having your own rights and stuff. So I'm more so thinking about personal freedom, okay, and how to really develop that in your life, and how I got to the point where I just kind of do whatever I want. I've never been a 9-to-5 corporate job type of person, okay? So I tried it in the past before. It just didn't work out. I hated it. It sucked, and I can never, ever do that again. So when I was in undergrad at university, I worked in the human resources department, and it was honestly one of the most soul-draining, energy-sucking things I had ever done in my life. I was working as a receptionist at the human resources department. I also did a couple other jobs, like let's say I worked at Chipotle, right? I was a cashier at Chipotle when I was like 19 or something like that. And once I turned, after I had that HR job, that's when I was about 20, 21 years old. I quickly realized that this was not for me. Okay, the regular 9-to-5 rat race thing just wasn't for me. Okay, and whenever I showed up to that place, I just felt like I was drained of my creativity. I just felt like the person that I was becoming as a result of that job of just repetitively doing mindless work all the time. I literally felt dumber. And I think that's exactly what being in a prison might feel like. Right, I've obviously never been to prison, but when you don't have the free will to decide what you want to do with your life, I just find that to be like one of the most uninspiring things that anybody can ever do, okay? And so if you're the type of person where you know that 9-to-5 grind really isn't for you, and even if you are in that 9-to-5 grind, what are the ways that you can feel free while you're doing that? And for me, freedom means autonomy and being able to make your own decisions on your own time, having the creative space and being in the creative headspace to where you're kind of in control of your reality, right? You're the captain of your own ship. And I think one of the biggest things that contributed to me developing this mindset was the fact that I understood from a young age that your time is your most valuable asset. A lot of people value money over everything else. A lot of people they put a tremendous amount of value into money, but what they don't realize is money is infinite, right? There's an infinite amount of money that you can go out there and get, right? Money is on every single corner, even in a huge city like Dallas. It's very, very clear there's money everywhere. I live in Miami. There's literally money everywhere. In every single part of the world, there is an opportunity where you can find $1 or a peso or a euro, whatever country you're in, whatever currency you go by, there's opportunity everywhere. Time is your most valuable resource, and here's why: because you can get money back, right? Let's say you have an investment that goes bad, you can always get that money back, but you cannot get your time back, right? Every single second that passes, you are literally wasting time, especially if you're not going for something and you're not at least doing something that aligns with who you are. You're not doing something that invigorates you, that excites you every single day, okay? And I understood this from quite a young age. Right, most people they will go their entire life and not ever realize that even once. And so to realize that from a young age, it just put me in this mindset of where I know that my life and the trajectory that I'm going to be going on in my life, first off, it's difficult, and second off, the reward is great. The reward is going to be extraordinary for becoming the type of person who's able to create a reality of their own design. And I've had a few different mentors that really helped me drill this into my brain, and a few of them are not only are they're obviously wealthy, but they're some of the most free people I've ever met in my life. And you can tell when someone's free by the look they have in their eyes. Okay, you've heard this about people, is that they have like a certain sparkle to their eye. There's like a certain brightness to their eyes. Okay, and these people, they're woke, right? This is real woke. This isn't like the woke that you hear on the news and shit like that. No, this is real woke, where you're able to see between the lines. Your intellect and your mind are so well defined that you can actually see between the bullshit. Okay, it's really hard to bullshit a person who's already woke. And a person who's woke like that, they understand what life is about. They understand what living an extraordinary life is about, rather. Okay, so when you meet someone like that, do this. Try to spend as much time as you can around those people, because what they've been able to cultivate in their life, it doesn't matter what their age is. This has nothing to do with age, but it has everything to do with wisdom and maturity, and really just opening your eyes to the fact that your time here on this planet is limited. Okay, and every single day that you waste making someone else's dream come true, working at a job you hate, doing something that doesn't really invigorate you at a soul level and fulfill you in a deep way, you're just literally wasting your time. Okay, and it's tragic. I remember being in that situation where I was working at Chipotle, or I was working basically a dead-end job, and they wanted me to come back. I remember my first summer of doing door-to-door sales, where I actually got a glimpse of that freedom. Right in the moment, there's not really much freedom because you're sort of grinding your life away. But in the aftermath, you just create so much financial flexibility, financial abundance, that you can kind of do whatever you want in that time. Okay, and I'm a huge believer in actually doing things that are worthwhile and are creative, and put you in a creative headspace where it satisfies you on a deep emotional level. Okay, and so whenever you get around people that are already doing that, it's like, dude, you need to spend every waking moment with those people. Pick their brain. Bring them some value, bring them clients, help them out in any possible way, so that way you can begin to sort of adopt that mindset, right? The more that you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with, and so the more time you can spend around people that are like that, the people that are free, the more you will actually begin to attract those things in your life realistically right now, okay? And I'm a big believer in freedom. That's why my coaching company is called Freedom Mentoring. I'm not necessarily helping people start businesses. I'm not necessarily curing cancer or some shit here. This isn't like a magic pill. The shit that I do for people is not a magic pill. The shit I did for myself isn't really a magic pill. But what I am creating for people is autonomy, sovereignty, being able to create a life of their own design, being able to deliberately create things that are worthwhile to them, that are meaningful to them. And so, that's why I named my company Freedom Mentoring, right? I don't think any other word encompasses what I do and what I love to inspire and bring out of other people other than freedom. And there's a lot of ways that people restrict their freedom. Number one is not understanding that time is their most valuable asset, and then they think other people's opinions, or they think a relationship, or they think a material object is the most important asset. No. The most important thing that you can understand right now, and all of the most successful people and all of the woke people that understand this, is that time is your most valuable asset. A couple other things that really keep you restricted in a prison, in a mental prison, are things like emotional traumas. Anything that really distracts you from being your best self, anything that really throws you off your spiritual alignment, anything that really puts you on a path towards destruction rather than productivity and amazingness in life, and really satisfies you on that deep emotional level. All those things, all those traumas, all those negative emotions are all restricting your freedom, right? It's putting you in a mental prison, maybe not a physical prison with a cell, bars and a jail cell, and you don't have that kind of prison, right? Not in a literal context, but in a mental context, your mind is like a computer program, okay? And if you have these programs running on your computer, on your mental computer, that do not support you either living free or living abundantly, or having a lot of money, or having a lot of love, having a lot of positive emotional experiences, you are literally in a mental prison. And when you're in a mental prison, it's so much harder to think creatively, and it's a lot of the problems that we have on our life are so easily solvable. There's real easy pragmatic solutions that you can implement to solve a lot of the difficulties in your life. But when you're in a mental prison, it's one of the most impossible things to overcome. And I can tell you that from personal experience, right? In the period of my life where I was really acknowledging my major depression and my major anxiety and my narcissistic personality disorder, it was one of the toughest moments for me to work. Right? At the time, I had just started at a new job, at a new sales position, and this was the beauty of this job is that it actually aligned with where I was going, so I at least had that part down. But because I was going through such an emotional time in my life, because I was going through such a deep darkness and a deep dark moment in my life at that moment, I wasn't always the best person at that job. I wasn't always the most productive person, and I really didn't feel emotionally free. I still felt like something was controlling me. I still felt like I wasn't in complete control of my reality. And it wasn't until I really spent the time to cultivate that deeper connection with myself, and I mastered who I was as a person, and I understood in a much bigger way what my purpose on this planet was, that I really became free. That I really became free from the burden of my emotions. Right, and I got out of that prison. I got my get out of jail free card. Okay, and I was able to rise to the occasion and really create this life where I just kind of do whatever I want. Right, all the people I hang out with. I'm not saying this shit to brag, by the way. But all the people I hang out with, they're all wealthy. They're all very much educated. And education doesn't necessarily mean in an academic context, but they're smart. They're woke. They understand the important things in life. They're wanting to have amazing experiences and network with the best people that they can possibly find, and really create a surplus of value in the world, right? When you're in that mental prison, all you can think about is take. You're in a very much scarce mentality, and it's not until you get into more of a freedom mentality that you can think in abundance, right? And that's when the mindset that I'm talking about here, where there's just an abundance of financial resources everywhere you go. It's really hard to see that if you're in that mental prison and you're being controlled by your negative thought patterns. Okay, and so that's why I'm a huge proponent of self-mastery. Again, that's exactly what I coach people on. It's exactly what my mentors coached me on, and I have some of the best mentors in the world. Some of the best motivational speakers on this planet were my mentors, and I traveled with these people. I picked their brains. I spent immense amount of times with them, and borderline annoying as fuck to get their attention and to really absorb the mentality that they've been able to develop. And when you get to this level, of consciousness, and you understand how precious each and every moment you have in life is, that's when you really start to begin to level up. Not only like a spiritual and like a consciousness level aspect, but also like financially, emotionally, socially, just like experientially, your life begins to level up. And so you raise your standards, and you become the type of person where it doesn't matter what you're going through, you're still the type of person who's going to be reliable, and you're going to go get results anyways. Okay, and hopefully you can even hear that like in the sound of my voice here. When I speak with confidence, because everything that I'm talking about aligns exactly with who I am as a person and where I'm going. Okay, like even there's people walking around back here. I can see them through the reflection on the glass right here, and it doesn't distract me because I know exactly what I came here to do. And when you have that level of confidence, it's like nothing can get in the way of you achieving something. Okay, and this, the shit that I'm talking about, I'm a very spiritual person, but this is also a very pragmatic thing that you can apply into your life right now. And it's literally what being free is all about. When you have a deep sense of personal freedom, you are free to do whatever you want with your life. Okay, and I mean that in a very realistic way. Whatever you want to create out of your life, however much money you want to spend, whatever people you want to meet, your dream partner, anything like that, it's absolutely possible once you really have the right mindset and you align yourself with the party that can actually go out and figure these things out. Okay, it's all about problems and solutions. And when you're in a mental prison, it's almost impossible to think in a problems solution oriented format. And I'm just thinking out loud here. But when the reality of this is like, the only way to really get to this point is to really want it, to desire to get out of that mental prison. You see, what happens is so many people allow their emotions to control their reality. You understand that? Like, so many people are so deeply attached or identified with their emotions that they really can't get out of their own way. A lot of times they think it, especially if you're in that, like the type of person who does work like that corporate 9-to-5 job and you hate it and your desire is to get out of it. A lot of people, most people think, especially when they're in that mindset, that it's like their employer that sucks and everyone's out to get them, and nobody wants them to win, and just the circumstance that they're in, someone else is responsible for that. Right? Like, someone else is responsible for their well-being. Well, I got news for you. In the real world, you are 100% responsible for who you are, what your position is in life, how much money you make, all those things. Your life is your responsibility. And, I read this book. It's one of the books. By the way, read a fuck ton of books, because books, it's literal knowledge and information that people who have developed a high level of success literally put their life's work, all their experiences, they put them down on paper so that you can learn from this shit. I find it baffling that people don't fucking read books, or at the very least, absorb content that is going to help you get to this point in your life. But I did read this book by Mark Manson, one of my favorite authors, and he talks about this. There's obviously in the Spider-Man movie, I like the original Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire, and in the first episode, in the first one where his grandfather dies, or sorry, not his grandfather, Uncle Ben, when Uncle Ben dies, he tells Peter Parker, he goes, hey, with great power comes great responsibility. And Mark Manson, said it perfectly. He said this absolutely perfectly. I forget what book it was. It might have been The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, or like Models or something like that. I forget which book. Those are both phenomenal books, by the way. If you haven't read them, go read them now. But he said it in the opposite way. He said, with great responsibility comes great power. And to me that is one of the key things that'll help you create a lot of freedom in your life. Right? When you finally accept responsibility for the position you're in, even if it's not your fucking fault, even if it's not your fault, if you can accept responsibility, you take back that power, you take back the control in your life, and that's when you're actually free. That's when you're completely free to do whatever you want with your life. And then you see people, right, the people that you want to be like, the people that you look up to, they just have like this magnetism about them and this attraction about who they are and their character as a person. and you're like, fuck, man, like, no, I want to be like that. I want to be like that. And you put all this pressure on yourself to like actually, you put all this pressure on yourself to figure this shit out in 2 seconds. But what you don't understand is like, this is a long-term game, right? In order for you to be free, you're not free in 1 second, right? You can have that change right now. You can have that mental shift right now, but to actually experience it in a pragmatic way, it takes time. So if you have enough patience to sit through and go through this process of figuring out what are these things that you're doing that are holding you back, and you commit to taking responsibility for those things, and you wholeheartedly put your effort and your focus and every resource that you possibly have into mastering yourself, that's when you get out of that mental prison. That's when you start living more in alignment with who you are as a person, and that's when you're free. And I'm telling you, when you're free, it's like you get to do whatever the fuck you want. Like, you get to travel, right? People will pay you immense amounts of money to do business with you and to learn from you, okay? And that doesn't necessarily mean you need to be a fucking life coach. Whatever, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, what profession you're in, there's a level of freedom that you ought to have, and you do that by intentionally creating that lifestyle. It doesn't matter if you're like in a finance job, or like you're in tech, or you're a fucking doctor, or a lawyer. A lot of my clients are these people. A lot of my clients are doctors, lawyers, like high-end people, high-quality people. And they still don't feel free. It's not the money that makes you free. The money doesn't fucking make you free. Freedom is a feeling that you have deep down inside, that you've deliberately created a life of your own design. And you'd be surprised the amount of people that have a fuck ton of money, but yet they're prisoners of their circumstance. They're prisoners of life. They're not living free. They're depressed. They're anxious as fuck. They have very, very, very few friends, very poor support systems. A lot of people think money is going to solve their problems, and it does solve some of the more short-term, immediate problems. But I promise you, it's not going to solve the bigger problem of this freedom thing right here. It might temporarily make you feel free, but I promise you, it's like money. All money does, it's like a surplus of extra money isn't going to make you happier, right? This is a huge thing about money. So a surplus of money isn't going to make you any happier, right? But an absence of money will make you depressed and miserable, okay? And so once you actually start making money, great, now you actually have a better shot at having this level of freedom. But to ultimately have this creative freedom where you do whatever you want in your life, it's something you got to deliberately create in yourself. And once you allow yourself to be free by sort of like rewiring your brain for success and undoing all the damage that's been done to you over the years, and you take responsibility for that, right? You take responsibility for allowing yourself to waste time and not value each and every second you have here on the fucking planet. That's when you actually start to get deeper levels of satisfaction, fulfillment, and you really start to live free. And so hopefully that all makes sense. And this is something that I think about all the time. And when you reach this level of freedom, even in moments where I do experience some darkness and I do experience some depression, I just had a week. I did this spiritual immersion, and I had about a week of time where like I was really, I was crying for like 4 days straight. I literally cried for 4 days straight. And cried myself to sleep. Even on the last day, I was up till 5 a.m. in the morning, and I was shaking from like how scared I was of my thoughts. My thoughts were that dark. My thoughts were that fucking dark. I was thinking about death and thinking about just like how, like in that moment, I was thinking about like how shitty of a person I was, and like all these horrible things. And and it was those things are reflections and little bits and pieces of the old me that were sort of still there. And I'm so grateful for moments like that where I can experience that darkness. And although in the moment it was extremely painful, I was crying. I was trying to write down these thoughts. I was trying to write down my thoughts so I can understand them. And I was literally fucking shaking. I was shaking, and I felt like life was crumbling down on me in that moment. Obviously, I have enough perspective to understand that it's like, okay, my life isn't really crumbling below me, right? It's not crumbling on top of me, but in that moment, that's what it felt like. And I have such good support systems, and I have such great people in my life that I can sort of share these ideas with. And it really, that depression and anxiety, that whatever came up for me in that moment, turned into inspiration. It turned into fuel, okay? And when you have this level of freedom, it's like things like that. They actually give you power. They give you more power, and they don't take away your power. They don't rob you of your creativity, okay? And so it's like, like if that same exact situation were to happen to me 3, 4, 5 years ago, I would be a fucking wreck for such a long time, and it would literally disrupt my life, And even in those days where I was crying, I was still effective at work. I was still bringing value to my clients, and that's what being reliable is about. When you're reliable like that, people pay you the big bucks, okay? People will literally pay you the big bucks to be able to do that. And it's a beautiful thing. And I cherish moments like that, because moments like that of sadness and moments of weakness, it expands your soul. It deepens the connection with your soul, and I love soul moments like that. I'm all about spirituality. I'm not about just money, or business and blah, like all this shit. No, like I'm a very, like, obviously, like, I like material things and I like success on the surface level. But for me, what's more important is having a deeper like sense of fulfillment and soulfulness with my life and with my friends and family and, you know, my colleagues, my business partners, my body, my, you know, all of it. Like I crave spirituality. I'm gonna put out a lot more videos about how to grow a deeper connection with your spirituality, because I feel that has been one of the things that helped me master myself. Because when I understood those things, I understood what my psychology was. I was able to change the trajectory of my life and change my decisions and my behaviors in the present moment to create a better future. Okay, and I took advantage, and I really didn't take for granted the time that I have in the present moment, and so that's why I live a life now where I just kind of do whatever the fuck I want. Okay, so yeah, I mean, that pretty much characterizes everything that was on my mind right now, and this is something I can speak about for hours and hours and hours on end, and I really do think I have a unique skill set to be able to point this shit out in people and get them on the right fucking path. Okay, and so, you know, if this is something you resonate with, go subscribe to my channel, like the video, comment on it, ask me questions, reach out to me, schedule a fucking call with me. And if you know someone that would resonate with this, go ahead and send this shit to them too. Send it over to them. Like, give them the gift of freedom by enlightening and opening their eyes to what's possible for them. Okay, if I can do it, so can anybody else. Okay, I'm going to be dropping a lot more videos on this. I hope to see you guys soon. Peace for now.